There are people that the only time they get interested or concerned about the issue of relationship is when it comes to dating relationship or marriage relationship. What am I trying to say? There are other relationships that are vital to our existence outside of that. In fact, if we look at Adam, we can say he had other relationships. He had relationships with the animals. The Bible says God brought them to him. He named them. He gave them their name. He recognized them, this is where I'm going to. The law of recognition when it comes to the issue of relationships. For many people, the only time their antenna, comes up is when it's time to marry, to choose a spouse. People who don't care about hearing God or knowing the will of God, all of a sudden when it comes to getting married or dating, they now want to start learning how to hear from God. No wonder they hear the wrong things. I'm saying this to say that there is a maturity that is required when it comes to recognizing, because that's what really happens in relationship. The law of recognition is a law in the issues of relationship that we must master, because guess what? That was what Adam had. There are questions about if God chooses a spouse for you or you choose for yourself. Does God choose a spouse for somebody or do you choose yourself? What's the answer? Questions like that here and there. But the truth is that you choose yourself, but you choose God's will when you recognize it. He said, I've set before you what? Life and death. It's left to you to choose. But I urge you to choose what? Life. So it is your duty to recognize which one is life or death by receiving the right training from God, by receiving light from God. There are things that looks like white, but it's black. There are things that look like blue, but it's green. People who have color blindness can't discern color. So for them to choose the right color, you've got to first heal that color blindness. There are things that look good, but are not exactly good. Even the Bible speaks of this. It says, there is a way that seems right to each man. There is a way, at least one way. In other words, as you go through life and destiny, there will be one way that looks right, but that way ends in destruction. Scripture says, there's a way that seems right to every man, to each man, but the end is destruction. So it is your duty to recognize what way that way is. Which takes us to the fact that there are relationships God orchestrates. You have the recognition that, forms you and brings you into the place where you have the recognition to then begin to make choices that have to do with life and destiny. You see, God knows when you are a child, in His benevolence, He begins to guide you. He begins to lead you, sometimes unconsciously. You just, by divine orchestration, you find yourself in places. But you see, there is a time in your life, and I know this by experience, that you see, God will stop doing that. He wants you to start making conscious choice that will affect your destiny. There are relationships when you are young, you don't know your left from your right. God just orchestrates your path, or use somebody, maybe your parent, to just guide you. Some of you look for admission in some schools and you didn't find it, and the one you got, you didn't know it was God behind the scene, just doing things and leading you because you didn't know better. But a time will come where it won't be God just trying to orchestrate things. It begins to teach you how to make choices by yourself, because you have now come into an understanding of destiny, and you know right from wrong. This will not add up to the destiny that the Lord has for me. Are we together? So the law of recognition. So God wants to train us. One of the things that we learn in the life of Adam was also the fact that, you see, when God was going to, He said He made all the beasts. He formed the beasts of the earth and He brought them to Adam. Those ones came outside of Adam, but the relationships that Adam needed came from where? Inside of him. Which means when it comes to the issue of relationships, God begins first on your inside. Are we together? What is it doing on your inside? To create a reality. It's my guess that when Adam slept, one of the things he saw, maybe in his dream, was a picture of Eve. And I'm not saying dream in that, sense. It is a first creation on the inside that when you come out, you begin to recognize the things that are for you in life and destiny, including relationship. This doesn't just work for relationships, but it's a principle generally in God. Because what God will do for you, He will first do in you. Many people have not opened themselves up to God to do a work in them, and they are going about trying to seek relationships I believe that the principle of God, when it comes to coming into relationships, destiny-enhancing relationships, works by recognition, discernment. And that discernment happens because God had spent time to work on the inside of you. It's a principle of double creation that we have taught before. He does it on the inside of you so that when you go through life, you can begin to recognize the things that are for you. His eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither has entered into the heart of man what God has prepared for those who love him. Because we have received the Spirit that is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us. What that Spirit does is that it works on the inside of you and creates the image, the reality of the things that God has made for you, so that when you come outside, you can begin to see it. It's the law of recognition in relationships. The problem with some is, they live their life to chance, because somehow they feel, at least God has brought me this far by chance. But you see, like we said, there is a time God expects you to come to a measure of growth and understanding, so that you are able to make choices. I have experienced times, because of the claims that, God, I just want to please you. You just tell me, and I will obey you. There are times God will not just tell you, but he wants to teach you how to know. For example, because my son is still a child, I will choose his clothes for him. This one does not match this one. He doesn't know which one. But there's a time that he wouldn't be relying on me to tell him what to wear. Why? Because over time he has been taught on how to combine the clothes and not look like a masquerade. This is how God deals with us. So the leadings of God is not just telling you, this is it, that's not it, this is it. Yeah, God does that sometimes. But God also teaches us, trains us, gives us understanding, so that we can come into recognition that of the things that are for us.